you are. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Let's see. Oh, it looks like we just hit 2:00, so I think we'll just go ahead and get started.
Awesome.
So, welcome everybody. I'm Dr. Rashmi Kadesia with CCRM Fertility, and I am so excited to welcome Dr. Michelle Dang today. She's a Houston native, born and bred, which I love. My husband is the same. So that's really exciting part of her story. But what I love is that her original medical training was in anesthesia and interventional pain management. And based on experiences, and I'm going to ask her to talk about this a little bit more, taking care of patients dealing with pain and chronic pain, she started incorporating a lot more about fitness and activity and movement into her work. And she has so many credentials in yoga and now in Legree as well. And she teaches fitness classes, not during Corona, during normal times, here in Houston, and also has completed a fellowship in integrative medicine. So truly has all of the training in mind and body, which is a perspective I really adore. So thank you for joining me. What I wanted to start with was just a little bit about kind of how you decided to incorporate physical activity and fitness into your practice of medicine, and particularly how that might apply to even younger patients or younger people, honestly.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to come. I've actually never done an Instagram live video, so it was kind of like, oh, do I have everything I need? So my fitness journey, actually, I grew up not really doing anything fitness related. So, getting into fitness was something completely out of the box for me. And it wasn't until I had my son in 2009. And so I gained about 40, 50 pounds after my pregnancy. And prior to being pregnant, I never really worked out at all. And so losing the weight after I had him was a huge struggle. And so it wasn't until maybe a few years, maybe about a year, I was in residency. So a year after I had him, I could not get the weight off. And it was I just mentally felt so tired and fatigued all the time.
Yes.
And so that was when I just did back then Groupon was big. And so I did a 6-week Groupon boot camp deal, and then started doing a little bit of yoga and started, slowly getting the weight off. And it really was when I did my fellowship in San Antonio in 2012. That was when I was away from all the stressors in my life and focused on myself. And that's when it kicked off. But to answer your question, it really wasn't until maybe 2014 that I really became more serious about my fitness and really got into yoga pretty much every day. I would do yoga every day, and I felt so much better. And that was when I had just started private practice, and I really felt like I wanted to be able to bring some of what I learned for myself to my patients. And so in 2014 was when I did my yoga teacher training, mostly for myself, but also to bring it to my patients. And then from there, it was what else can I do that would help me and help my patients? And so that was when I discovered integrative medicine. So it's a very complicated story. So.
No, it is. And, can you talk a little bit about integrative medicine too? Because a lot of people, I think, have heard that term, but I bet a lot of people are not familiar with exactly what that means.
So integrative medicine, there's a lot of different newish fields of medicine that really incorporate mind, body, in addition to nutrition and movement therapy and all of that. So integrative medicine encompasses everything. So it's not alternative medicine. It's more of a combination of everything else you can do outside of traditional medicine in addition to traditional medicine. So what really spoke to me was all of the mind-body therapy. So they're really big on yoga, nutrition, and other factors like different lifestyle changes you can make. So.
Okay, well, that's awesome. And it's a lot of what we deal with in reproductive medicine as well, particularly, with regards to fertility. And obviously, I know you've gone through and been pregnant and all of that, so you kind of know some of, personally have experienced all of that. But, there is a lot of, that we talk about as relates to nutrition and lifestyle. And to me, the biggest one is sort of stress and anxiety management. And when I think about pain management, and I was trying to think to myself, okay, what are some of the symptoms or what are the diagnoses that you might see very frequently in sort of my patient population of generally reproductive aged women? And so, of course, I thought about things like endometriosis and stuff like that. But then I I also just thought about like chronic pain related to stress. And I wonder, if you could talk a little bit about, from a pain perspective, what you see most frequently in like relatively younger women.
So definitely high amounts of there, like when you talk about chronic pain, there's a huge emotional component to it. So certainly stress can make everything seem, if it's a baseline about a 2 or 3 out of 10, when you add all the emotional components to it, in terms of stress and anxiety and weight and all that stuff, that can make everything even higher. So definitely see a lot of that with chronic pain patients. And it's difficult, especially with chronic pain, to realize that there is such a huge component, emotional component to pain. And so I really stress, educating my patients that while you may have something functional wrong with you, there may be other things that we can work on, and that may require some of your effort. And so, I try to spend a lot of time with them discussing things that they can do to manage some of the factors that they can control.
And so, how do you kind of prescribe or incorporate physical movement into what you're, recommending to patients?
So I always tell them, so it's very individualized, right? So, what can work for one person may not work for another person. And so I always ask them, what types of things do you like to do? Many of my patients, they're probably different demographics than your patients, but a lot of them are older and they really enjoy yard work. Or golfing or things like that, which I don't do, but I just ask them, so what can we do to help you feel a little bit better? What brings you joy? And if it's something like gardening, then we'll work on moving towards that goal. And so when I have chronic pain patients, a lot of times they can't do anything at all, and they really want to do that yard work. So I say, okay, well, let's work on getting you, 15 minutes a day of doing some yard work. And so I just meet them where they are and then gradually build up what they can do.
Okay, so for those people that have their own home, I guess yard work is one of the things we can still do even now with social distancing in place. So I'm curious what tips you have for people that are quarantining or are socially distancing, that want to stay physically active. And obviously there's sort of a spectrum, right? We always say, look at somebody's starting fitness level. So you might have some folks that have really, kind of like you were saying in your fitness journey when it started, that really hadn't been physically active in any structured way, to the people that are used to hitting the workout studio, maybe your students at Legree, like every day or multiple times a week. So it's kind of like a spectrum of where people are starting, but we're all now in the same place of being stuck at home. So What are your thoughts on how people can adapt to our Corona lifestyle?
Yeah. So at the end, I have like a little sheet that I'll show all the things that I came up with. But again, it kind of depends on where you're at. So that has been a huge struggle for me because I'm used to going to the studio probably 5 times a week, and a variety of things like yoga and my Legree fitness. And so that has, like, the first 2 weeks has been really hard for me. And that's one thing that I would recommend is when this whole thing started, it was really hard for me to disconnect. And so it was really hard for me to put down my phone, turn off the TV. And so I was wrapped up and super, super stressed out, like so anxious. And gradually, I found more of a routine. But to answer your question, I mean, it kind of depends on what you enjoy doing. So for me, I have there's behind my house, there's a small little like lake that's a half-mile loop. And I was never really into running, although I run a lot. But that was really part of what I started doing a little bit more, was doing a little bit more physical activity outside of the house, just to kind of get out, because I personally have not left my neighborhood in 4 weeks. So it was one of those things where it's like, I just have to get outside to like get outside of my house. And so I would definitely encourage doing something outside, whether it's just going for a little walk, obviously staying away from people. And, if you're not a big runner, that's fine. But, maybe just if you have like a smartwatch or something, like look at the steps and try to increase the number of steps that you're taking. Other things that, it kind of depends on where everybody lives, but here in Houston, there are so many studios that are doing live stream classes. And so I have a variety of studios that I typically go to outside. Now they're doing live stream videos and on Instagram or on Facebook, and so, or even on Zoom. And so I've been doing that. excuse me. And even it's not just yoga. I think a lot of people think, oh, well, these live streams are all yoga classes, but I know my friends do F45, and there's like F45 classes, and some of the Legree studios are doing Legree home workouts, which is obviously not the same as being on the machine, but there's so many options, and depending on where you are, you can also donate to the studios, which I'm sure all the studios will appreciate. So definitely doing that. One other thing that I do is I have a Garmin watch, which is a lot of runners have that. And on my phone, I have the Strava app, which is free. And so it's kind of like a app that you can upload workouts like running and that sort of thing. And you can connect with your friends on it as well. And so there's like different badges you can earn. And so that's kind of fun. Yeah. And so you can connect with your friends and encourage each other through there. Also, like Facebook groups. I mean, there's so many Facebook groups out there. There could be local Facebook groups that can encourage other people as well to work out together. And another thing is like Zoom or video conferencing with your friends. I did that a few weeks ago where I taught maybe about 5 or 6 of my friends a little workout, like 30 or 40 minutes. And it was good to see everybody. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ideas. And I think like this time is so, I don't know. I mean, it's just so crazy, right? Like nobody expected to have to be at home, staying at home for over a month or who knows how long it's going to be. So I think I've been able to connect more with my friends just virtually. And so it's different, but I think the important thing is trying to still be active and moving.
Yeah, I love that answer because what I'm realizing and talking to people from different, specialties and different trainings this week is that everybody's message is really overlapping, right? I mean, you talked about stress and anxiety management. You talked about, a lot of things just about healthy lifestyle, and it all kind of ties together and like social networks and keeping in touch with people. And I love that, honestly, we can't help ourselves but say the same things, because it's the reality of the situation. I think that's one of the best ways to kind of stress bust, I guess, is to try to combine, physical activity and just releasing all those endorphins with maybe doing that with people that you love, or like, I agree with you. A lot of the studios that I've gone to, and even my gym, I've been sending live ones, ones that you can stream on demand. And, I found that to be really fun. In some of the studios I used to go to living in other cities, even I can access those classes, which is cool. So I really think that's great. And so I know your son is now 10, is that right?
He's turning 11 in 2 weeks, so it's funny. So you probably saw my birthday was yesterday.
Yeah.
And my son's birthday is April 22nd. And so we already know that we're going to be, celebrating our birthdays from home. So yesterday, my husband and me and my son, we did a birthday workout. And so it actually was going to be the next point that I was going to say is that, I mean, whoever you're home with, hopefully you're not home by yourself, but if you're home with, kids and your spouse or significant other, like you work out together. So, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not a big runner. But my husband and my son will go running and they're always like, Mommy, you need to come run too. And I'm like, okay, I'll do my own workout. And like yesterday I worked out with them. And so we did a birthday inspired workout. And so I turned 39 yesterday. So everything was 39 reps. And so it was a lot of fun. And so we did like 39, it's a whole long workout, but like 39 jumping jacks, 39 burpees, 39 shoulder taps. So like just a whole set of workout. But it was fun to do it with my son and my husband. So I would definitely encourage if you're home with your kids or with your spouses, do something together. I mean, it's trying to make the best of the situation, and I mean, it's been fun watching my husband and my son work out together because, my son, like I said, it's turning 11 and my husband was laughing the other day because they were doing planks together and he looked over at my son Colin and he was like, I could see his abs. So it was funny. So, I mean, like I said, make the best of the situation and reconnect with your family. I mean, in this day and age, everybody's on technology and everything. And so on the weekends before, my son would be at home playing video games and kind of like doing his own thing. And we'd all kind of be doing our own things. But now we're forced to be together in the same house 24/7 for weeks and weeks. So, we drive each other crazy, as I'm sure, with everybody else.
Totally.
But that's why I think doing the fitness and having a little bit more of a routine brings some sort of normalcy in very abnormal times.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I think the whole idea of families working out together is one, or couples working out together too, is one that I actually talk to a lot of my patients about, because for some of them I'm like watching their vibe as they're sitting in the office, and some of them I can see that they've really been trying to support each other along the way, or maybe they both need to optimize their weight or whatever. And a lot of times I talk about, and again, as a mom, you totally get this, like it's not just okay trying to optimize weight and fitness to get pregnant or to be pregnant and have a healthy pregnancy, but also to create that healthy household where now you're going to raise a kid with the right habits. And so it's like a life change, I guess. It's not just we're doing it for short term because we want to achieve something. I think what we're trying to achieve is a healthy lifestyle. And I always tell people, my husband and I work out together sometimes, and some days it's really great, and some days we're like, oh, you're doing that wrong, or you're doing that wrong, and it's
yeah.
and so but it can be good and it can be bad, but you have to know your vibe as a couple and try to make the most of it. But I love that suggestion. And as you know, I have a 6-month-old, and I don't talk about her a lot on social media because I have obviously a lot of patients that are trying to get pregnant, and the whole baby topic is a sensitive one. But I will say that last weekend I was doing a kettlebell workout, and at the end she was just having a major meltdown. And so for the last minute, I used her as my kettlebell.
That's awesome.
And she loved it. So she loved me, doing squats, holding her, and this and that. So it can definitely be done despite how crazy everything is. And I'm so grateful that you've joined me to chat about this. I think that is definitely inspirational, that people can stay active and actually maybe even be more active than they've been in the past, despite, the restrictions of coronavirus. So my last question is, if there is anybody out there that maybe wants to take a class with you once that's a possibility again, or maybe is battling with chronic pain and wants to come see you, what are the ways that they can connect with you?
Awesome. Well, I'm going to actually show you this. I think everything is mirrored, right? Oh, yeah. Yep. So I printed this out earlier, and I was like, I'm going to try to mirror it on Word. So you can probably see it. So you can find me on Instagram. It's Michelle Dang MD. And I actually have a podcast that I started about a month ago, and this was before all this happened. And it's called Wishwell, is the group that I formed with two of my other friends. And so Wishwell stands for Women's Integrative Summit on Health and Wellness. So our plan was to put together a conference this May. Obviously, that's not happening.
Right.
But in the meantime, I started a podcast, and I interview women. A lot of them are physicians, just because I know a lot of physicians. But I do have other women on the podcast, and it's a weekly podcast that I put on Thursdays. And so I just started it, and we have about 6 or 7 episodes, and I've already interviewed a bunch. I hope to get you on it too.
Yes, definitely.
And so the Wishwell podcast is, you can find it on Instagram at wishwell.health, and the podcast is on Anchor, Spotify, and iTunes. So give it a listen. And then these are just some tips that I came up with, which I didn't really mention before about meditation, but definitely we talked about stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
I think meditating or doing some breathing exercises would be really helpful during this time. And it's really hard for me, and I think as physicians, we have a lot of stuff going on in our brain, so it's really hard to kind of disconnect. But meditation, I found, has been really helpful. So apps that you can use, I started using Headspace, and I had used Calm before, but there are a lot of apps out there that can be helpful. And I think just spending 5 minutes a day, I mean, ideally 20 minutes a day would be awesome, but you don't all have that time.
Yeah.
But like 5 minutes a day, if you're feeling really overwhelmed or stressed, I think that's helpful to incorporate into your routine as well. And then I talked about live streaming online, and you can donate to local studios. And so, you can access that. I mean, it doesn't have to be local. You can access studios from other cities as well. And then I mentioned Strava. So you can use Strava to connect with friends and earn badges. And that's not only for running. We use it when we go biking as well. And like I mentioned before, I have a Garmin, and so it connects all my activities through Strava as well. But that's something that you can use even without having Garmin. And then Zoom video conferencing with friends, I think, is always really helpful. I try to do like a weekly video check-in with some of my friends just to make sure everybody's mentally okay. And it's always nice to see videos of people and give virtual hugs, even though you can't really touch them. And then working out with your family and make it fun. I think that's especially important if you have kids. who may not really understand what's going on. And, you know, initially my son, like I said, he was really excited about being home. He's like, I don't have school. But then he realized, oh, I do have school. It's just at home. And so
without his friends, yeah.
yeah. So for like the kids who are kind of elementary school, grade school age, like they may not completely comprehend what's going on. So I think working out with them and giving them some sort of routine and having them, you know, work off their energy is helpful. And, you know, it just helps everybody kind of de-stress a little bit, makes it fun. And then the last thing, which I think is super important, disconnect from news and social media. Yes. I mean, I think that is probably the biggest thing for me. And in the last week and a half or so, I've really tried to just limit my time. And I try to advocate a lot for the physicians in our community, as you're probably aware. But it gets very overwhelming just because I'm getting messages all the time. I'm reading all the news. I'm getting all the updates. And so what I've tried to do is just set aside just a small period of time to advocate, and whether it's for myself or for my friends and colleagues or for the community, and then really try hard just to disconnect. And if I'm sitting at home watching a movie with my family, I really try not to just constantly check my phone, even if I get notifications.
Yes.
I think that, in addition to like the meditation and the breathing exercises, will really help reduce some of the stress and anxiety. And on top of that, of course, like the fitness and maintaining your activity level. I mean, we've been eating at home a lot, and I cook a lot. And we just said earlier, we're going to gain so much weight because I'll make like dinner, and then I'll make dessert and everything. And, you know, we don't go out anywhere. We're not, you know, but I think like maintaining some amount of fitness and activity level and trying to eat healthy and all that stress, reducing the stress will be overall helpful. So sorry, that was a lot of information.
Yeah, no, but that's great. And I agree. And honestly, I think a lot of people are talking about this like quarantine weight gain, but I mean, I think especially for people that are cooking, I think a lot of people, which we've been doing a lot of as well, you know, I actually think I'm eating like the least processed food, you know, that I've eaten in my adult life, honestly, probably.
Yeah.
Because we're just cooking like every day. We've gotten takeout, I think, like 2 times in however many weeks we've been doing this. So, you know, it's been a whole new world. So I totally agree. I love all of those tips. Thank you so much for joining me. And yes, I hope to be on your podcast soon and see you in real life after this is all over.